I recently binge read all three books in Kennedy Ryan's Skyland series, and I have thoughts. So in this video, we're gonna briefly talk about what each book is about. I'm gonna talk about my likes, my dislikes, some standout moments, some themes each book addresses, and then at the very end, I'll rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. So let's get into it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Skyland series looks like this. I'm pretty sure you've seen like these covers around on social media or maybe like at your local bookstore. So this is what they look like. These are part of a set, like a series, of course. And Kennedy Ryan is like, she churns out books. So she actually has like many different series and different books within different series. This is just the one that I feel like I was seeing a lot, and so I decided to like get into. So I'm gonna start with the first book. The first book is called Before I Let Go. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have my notes, of course. Like I don't want to just be rambling on. But the main, like, if I could give like a summary of this book, is that Yasmin and Josiah, they were married, and they have two kids together, but their love is tested when they have two very like special and dear people to them pass away within like a short period of time. And with those things happening, like they just really couldn't find their way back to each other and like work through it. Keep their marriage while also trying to deal with the two losses. And so they ended up like getting a divorce. But the book kind of like talks about how even though they weren't able to navigate their grief together, they kind of like slowly find their way back to each other. And spoiler alert, like this book has been out for a while. Spoiler alert, like they get back together by the end, and it's just like a very like it's a nice love story, feel good kind of thing. I will say though, like before I get into like my likes, all three of these books, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like a huge like romance reader, but these are definitely like romance and definitely spicy. So just be prepared for a lot of spice. Okay, so let me get into my likes for Before I Let Go. I love that in all of the books, and it's not just for Before I Let Go, but in most of Kennedy Ryan's books, at least for this series, she definitely starts off with like giving you a bit of like a trigger warning in her author's note. This one is a little bit shorter than the other ones. Oh, and this book is signed. It's so exciting. Love that for me. From Barnes and Nobles, by the way. So she always starts off her book with a trigger warning in her author's note, which I feel is very helpful because sometimes there's no author's note and you just start reading and you're actually like, whoa, this is a lot. But in her book, she always tells you like, this is what we're going to be reading about. This is this is the research I did. These are the people that I spoke to. This is like either it's her personal experience, some of her personal experience. And so I feel like that's always a good touch for an author to just be like, hey, newsflash, this is what you're about to read. So I love that. I also love the point of view style that she has in her book and in all three in this series. So because the book is about Josiah and about Yasmin, there's each section that tells you like who's speaking. So this is Josiah's chapter, and the next chapter will be like Yasmin, back and forth, back and forth. And of course, I love that. I talk about that all the time. I love that the books that are in this series have like bonus features. And when I say bonus features, I mean like by the end, once you're done, there is discussion questions. So again, if you are reading this book with a friend or you're reading it with a group and you want to kind of have a starting place for like discussion questions, if you're leading a book club, they Kennedy gives you these questions to start with, and then you can go from there. Also in this book, because the book was talking a little bit about like recipes and a restaurant and things like that, there are like some recipes at the back, which I think is like so cool. I might try them, I might not, who knows, but like it's still a fun like little piece to add at the end. Okay, so those are my likes. My dislikes for Before I Let Go. I feel so. First of all, I found like two typos, and I just like typos for me in reading like a published book are always just like so jarring because I'm just like, did this not go through like a whole process to be published. Like, was there not like a proofreader when they sent it to the publishing company? Like, I don't, maybe I'm just being naive in like what the process is like. But like when I was writing my own children's book, I did it on like a software that would tell me when there was a typo. I would reread it multiple times, and then like if someone else reads it, like they should pick it out. So I was just like, typos? Like, that's crazy. So I didn't like that. And then the second thing, it's only just two. In the story, so Yasmin has a daughter, her name is Deja, and like while Yasmin and Josiah were like going through their breakup and they were separated, Deja, as a teenager, which is like expected, was having a major attitude. And when I tell you it's the Caribbean in me. I was like, the way anyway, everyone who, like, if you read this book and you have like a certain level of something in you, you're gonna be like, Deja is so annoying, I could just snatch her. But it's just like, that's not really like a dislike on the author itself. It's just like she was just pissing me off basically. But that's that. So the themes discussed in this book are like grief, of course, in the marriage, divorce, reconciling depression due to like losing someone, having strained parent-child relationship, like I told you with like Deja and the mother, and of course like second chances and coming back to like the person that you know is your person and you love and care for deeply. So I think it was like a good like starting book to be like, oh my God, let's see what the other ones are going to be about. Is it going to build on from this? Is it going to be completely different? So overall, I really did like Before I Let Go, and I'm glad that I like read them in order. And you should read them in order. I was going to say you don't have to read them in order, but it would make the most sense. So this one was a very good start. So the next one is This Could Be Us. This is number 2 in the Skyland series. So This Could Be Us was, it follows, so a quick summary. This girl, her name is Soledad. She is married and she is a stay-at-home mom. She has 3 kids, 3 daughters, and she's just doing her best to like be the best stay-at-home mom she can be. She's taking care of her kids, doing all of that. And then all of a sudden, her husband is, I guess, outed for the things that he was doing at his job. So he was like embezzling money, like doing fraud. He was having an affair with his assistant and all of this crazy stuff. So her life basically comes crashing down because as a stay-at-home mom, she is not the like main breadwinner. And so she has to figure out how she's going to maintain the life that her husband like provided for them, because they live in Atlanta in this like, you know, affluent neighborhood. And so she has to like figure out, first of all, who she is. So they get a divorce, obviously. She has to figure out who she is without her husband, how she's going to provide for these 3 children in this affluent neighborhood, and then kind of like figuring out who she is as a person, right? Because she's been with this guy for like such a long time, and you know, there's like some things that he kind of like, sometimes when he brought her down and made her question herself, made her feel like she was not worth anything, and you know, that kind of stuff. So it's more of like trying to like find herself. But the biggest part of this, because like I said, this is romance, right, is that the guy, his name is Judah, the one who he's an accountant, and he's the one that while working at the job figured out like, whoa, her husband is up to no good, up to something, and kind of like takes him down. That same one kind of like starts showing interest in her. She's also like kind of interested in him, and then they have to go on this like huge journey of like, she's trying to like figure out like who she is, but then also she's like drawn to this guy, but like she can't be drawn to this guy because he's the one that's kind of like low-key responsible for like getting him in trouble and ruining her life and changing her life. And so it's this whole like, it's lots and lots of layers, but a really, really good story. So in the same way, I'm going to rapid fire go through my likes and dislikes. So my likes. In this book, the accountant, whose name is Judah, he has 2 kids that have autism, right? And they talk about like children with disabilities and how it's like growing up with them, and the fact that like his children, because one of them is like nonverbal or like like is barely verbal, and so he uses like assistive technology to like communicate, and all these like therapies, and just explaining like the woes of a parent with someone with autism and who has a disability. And duh, that's literally, I am a special education teacher. So all of the things that they were mentioning literally was just right up my alley, and I was like, I'm getting it. I'm here. I'm with it. I love this representation. So it was very good. And like, you don't have to know all of the information to like understand and follow along and empathize. And so I was very, very happy about like to read a story with a parent talking about kids with disabilities. And also the book has the same things of like book club questions, recipes. This one was a little bit different because it had, which I think is like so cool. I haven't actually like played it yet. It's on Spotify, and I don't have Spotify. I'm more of like a Apple Music kind of girl. But there's a playlist that you can like scan and listen to and kind of like get into the vibe of the book, which I think was really, really cool. So those were my likes. And actually, I don't have any dislikes about this book. Shocker. I feel like there are very few books where I'm like, I don't have any dislikes. It was just like a really great written story. So some of the themes, kind of similar to the first one, some of them. But this one, of course, like marriage, divorce, same thing. Trusting yourself, right? Because she needed to pick up the pieces from her marriage and then trust that even though she's literally all alone, trust that she would be able to like make a way, figure out what needs to be done. And I think that that's like a really good theme to discuss. Finding like your identity post divorce, and then like also like the importance of like having a community and having friends when you're going through a really tough time. So I don't know if I mentioned this or if this was like just understood, but all of the ladies in this book, the three girls, they're best friends. So like the persons, like they're mentioned in this book, the girls are mentioned in this one. So like it's good to like see how the stories build on each other. And like when Yasmin was going through her divorce and the losses, you could see these two girls like show up for her. When Soledad was going through her divorce and trying to pick up the pieces, these two girls showed up for her. So I love that. It was just like a very good like community feel and like just building off of each other. So yeah, and then that brings us to the last book, okay? This one is actually the most recent one. This one is the last story of Hendrix. So Hendrix is, she's in her 40s, or I think just turned 40. She is carefree, she's independent, she's child-free, she isn't married, she's never been married, and she is like a boss, right? She's like rich auntie vibes. And she basically is in her personal life dealing with her mother, who was just recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so she has to basically like, she lives in Atlanta, her mother is in North Carolina. So like the stress of like being rich, being a mogul, being like in your career bag, and then having to like detach from that and go back home to like where you grew up and be in your family home, and deal with a mom who is going through Alzheimer's and just having like a really hard time. But then she ends up meeting this guy, Maverick, who is like a billionaire, and who like fearlessly, relentlessly like pursues her, can relate to the stuff that she has going on with her mother because his grandpa had Alzheimer's. And so we kind of just see like her seeing if she would be able to like let go of this I'm independent, I'm the rich auntie vibes, and accept the love and the care and the being seen and heard and all that good stuff from Maverick. Okay, so my likes. I liked, again, so Kennedy did the author's note where she was talking about like how so many people are dealing with like parents or grandparents with Alzheimer's, and the research she did, and how she talked to people and all that good stuff. And I feel like I learned a lot about, number one, how people with Alzheimer's may or may not act, and also number two, how somebody who's caring for someone with Alzheimer's needs to act. And I feel like even though I don't have like that situation happening in my family, I mean, I might, knock on wood that it doesn't happen, but like you never know. And I feel like even though I was reading like a romance, a fiction book, I still like learned a little bit like of how to interact in those types of situations, which is always, always good. So that was my like. And I also like, there was like an aspect of like spirituality mentioned with like her mother, Hendrix's mother and aunt. Yeah, I think aunt, yeah, her aunt, they would talk about like, going to church and mentioning certain like, things that people say and believe if they're a Christian, and like certain songs. And I was like, oh, like that kind of resonated with me a little bit. So I was like, oh, that's nice. I love that. Okay, my dislikes. So all three books, like I said, are a little bit spicy, but I feel like number 3 can't get enough. Hendrix, like she's been spicy from the previous books, like the little sprinkles in that we saw from her, like as the friend. But in this book, as the main character, I was like, oh my god, she's a little vulgar. I'll just say that. So I didn't totally love that. There's like a lot of like mention of like basketball wording and just different things, because Maverick was like into that type of thing. And so if you don't really know like what they're talking about, it's not like overbearing, but there's just some parts of just like, I don't know what they're talking about. So just be prepared for that. Maverick and also Hendrix have like these assistants who are mentioned quite often in the book, and they have like a very, like the two assistants have a very weird dynamic with each of them. And I was just like, I feel like we could have done without this in the book. Like I didn't really add to the book. It's not like Hendrix was like giving her, I mean, she did kind of give her good advice, but I feel like it was unnecessary. Like the assistants and their tension was a little bit like, what is this about? 2 more dislikes. I also feel like Maverick kind of gave creepy vibes, like the way that he was like showing up and the way that he was like sending things to her house, or like, I don't know. I just feel like in a different sense, if he wasn't a billionaire, like if this was like the real world, some of the things he was doing would have been a little bit creepy. That's just me. Maybe not. I would have to see and like experience it for myself. But like, I just think that there's just some things I was just like, if he wasn't a billionaire, this would be sus. I don't know. Y'all can let me know in the comments, because I feel like it's been enough time where people have read the book and like have their own opinions. And so let me know in the comments if Maverick is getting billionaire privilege or not. And then the last thing I will say is that I found many typos in this book. And I mentioned it in the first book of like having a couple typos. This one, I think I found like 3. And I'm just like, bruh, why are we doing that? Like, where's the review of these books before it goes to publishing? But whatever, that's just me nitpicking and being picky. Okay, and so I felt like, so the themes were caring for a parent with Alzheimer's, of course, just struggling to like hold on to your independence while also like accepting love in a way that you haven't you've done before, being child free by choice. I feel like that's a pretty big like topic that people are constantly talking about, which Hendrix was. And so I feel like if you are into that, you might like what she talks about. And then yeah, overall that's it. Of course, like the leaning on your friends and having a community. And so I feel like this book was like, all 3 of them, they were great, and this one was a good wrap up to like the Skyland series. So yeah, that's the 3 books in a nutshell. Those are my likes, my dislikes, my themes, the themes, all that good stuff. So if you are looking for books that explore like real life topics, like serious things, but also is like like a little bit of romance, a little bit of spice, then I think the Skyland series would actually be the perfect series for you. And so, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna read the other books. I was thinking of reading Real. If I remember, I'll like put a screenshot of Real. That's another new series. Well, Real is already out, and then she's working on the second book in the series. So I was like, maybe I will, but I don't know. We'll see. But yes, the moment that you guys have all been waiting for, I am going to rank these books from my least favorite to my most favorite, okay? And again, disclaimer, this is my opinion. This is what I think. So you're more than welcome to agree or disagree. I would actually love if people would tell me their ranking in the comments, but don't come for me. This is just how I feel. So in third place, this is the perfect time to put in the dance moms lady when she was like,
on the bottom, Paige, you were good. I'm waiting for you to be great. And next, Kendall, you didn't stick out to me. Next is Brooke. Next, Nia, you're third on the pyramid. You were third overall high score. And Mackenzie, and on top of the pyramid, going 3 for 3, once again, is Maddie.
In third place, right? Coming in at number 3, Can't Get Enough. I'm sorry. It was a good book. It's just like the other two really just like did more for me. So coming in at number 3, Can't Get Enough. Coming in at number 2, I'm gonna go with Before I Let Go. I thought that this was really well done. The things that they talked about were like relevant and could be anybody's story, and I just love that it had a happy ending and they were able to like, you know, find their way back to each other. This is going to be number 2 for me. And then of course, by process of elimination, coming in at number 1 is This Could Be Us. I loved this book. I think the whole, like, first of all, I didn't even expect the whole drama with like Soledad and her husband, so that was giving it a bit of like a drama feel. And then there was the part of like her trying to like find herself, and that gave it like a self-love, a healing, a growth type of feel. And then to go into the romance of her being loved and pursued, I just felt like that was so great. And then I feel like the part of them talking about Judah and his sons and them being special needs and all that good stuff really like put the cherry on top for me. And so I'm giving this book the number 1 spot out of the 3 books in the Skyland series. So that is my review of the Skyland series by Kennedy Ryan. Like I said, I think enough time has passed where people can kind of like comment down below, let me know what you think, if you agree, disagree, your favorite parts, if you had the same dislikes as me, all that good stuff. So that's it for me. I am going to close out this book review. Hopefully it's not too long, but it's 3 books and I wanted to do something a little bit different. I usually don't read like books in a series, so I was like, I might as well just put them all together. Before I go, please don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to send this video to someone that you know who likes reading, who has read these books before, who's trying to get back into reading. Maybe my review might encourage them to start with this series. But I am very grateful for all of you, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your support. Bye.